Some landlords in New York City are happy that the city finally decided to ban Airbnbs, but homeowners, they are not happy. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's an update of a video that I just did recently about how New York City is really banning Airbnbs within the city, pretty much banning all of them. So they recently started enforcing this law that they passed that makes it so that Airbnbs have to register with the city, Airbnbs have to comply with all these new rules, and Airbnb will not even list the properties unless they have a license from the city. So it really is going to hurt those people who run short-term rentals. Okay, they're just not going to even be able to list them on the main platforms that are out there. So I'm not saying that they're going to go out of business, but they will have to find other ways to advertise those rentals. And people, they're going to have less options when it comes to where they stay. So people like me who don't necessarily get on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist to look for a short-term rental, we're not going to see a lot of these listings that previously were offered. Okay. Instead, we're going to look on Airbnb. We're going to be like, yeah, there's no listings here. And then we're going to stay in a hotel instead. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there who, they prefer the short term rentals when they visit somewhere to stay. And it's completely understandable. It's just a different experience than when you're staying at a hotel. And, a lot of people, they feel that you get more for your money, especially when you are staying in a place that is a short-term rental. So I personally believe a landlord or a property owner should be allowed to do what they want with the property that they own. But I also understand the perspective of the landlords who say, hey, we've got these, tenants who are renting from us and then putting our units on Airbnb without our permission. And now the city is coming after us, or the guests that they have inside these units, they're causing disruptions to our other tenants, and we do not want this to happen. So if you're a property owner and you have somebody doing this to your property, well, it's within your rights. If you wrote it down in your lease that, hey, this unit cannot be used in this way, well, yeah, you're going to be pretty pissed off when you have a tenant who is doing that, right? And yeah, it's a good thing for you that the tenant is or the city is cracking down on that tenant. But for the property owners, who want it or who have worked out a deal with their tenants that allows it, well, guess what? They're getting screwed over by this law, and they're not going to be able to operate in the way that they want to operate. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So, what's your view on this law? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Will this help or hurt the city? Will this provide more affordable housing for the city? Or will this not really be even significant? That's my personal belief. If you bring every single Airbnb off, if you kick all of them off and they all become long term rentals, it will make zero difference in terms of the affordable housing that is available for people in the city. It just won't. Okay, there is just way too much demand and way too much of a shortage of housing for it to make any impact whatsoever. It would take way more than that. It would take hundreds of thousands of units, not the mere number of units that are available right now. So, I think they said something like 5,300, or I can't remember how many rentals that there are available right now that are going to just it's got to be more than 10,000 for sure. Maybe this article says. But anyway, let's get into the article. This article is coming from therealdeal.com, and it says, landlords laud Airbnb crackdown, but two-family owners cry foul. Local Law 18 essentially bans short-term rentals in New York City. All right, let's get into it. Despite Airbnb's best efforts to quash a law that requires short-term rental hosts to register units, a de facto ban, according to the firm, the regulations took effect Tuesday. For many landlords, the new rules are a relief. Stricter enforcement means owners no longer need to police tenants who post illegal listings, which can lead to fines against the building. But for a smaller subset of property owners, those who rent out of two-family homes, the law has stamped out a revenue stream they have relied on for years. Since 2016, the city has banned rentals for fewer than 30 days unless the owner is present for the stay, but enforcement was nearly impossible. Local Law 18 figures to change that. Owners must now get short-term rental privileges for a given building approved by the city, or they will not be able to list the unit on Airbnb or similar sites. They can then rent to no more than two guests at a time and must keep doors in their apartment unlocked. And that's crazy, okay? You have to keep the doors to your apartment unlocked. You can only rent out to two guests at a time. So families, you can't even rent to a family. And you have to get permission from the city to even be able to list it on a short-term rental platform. Yeah, like they said, this is basically a ban. Okay, there's not going to be any short-term rentals within the city that are legal. Do you think that there are going to be landlords, or I'm sorry, property owners or hosts, as they call them, that figure out ways around these rules? Absolutely. Okay, people are creative. People are willing to do whatever it takes to be able to make money. And some people have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars invested in this sort of rental property. Okay, so there is no way they're just going to give it up and just quit and go away. Enforcement of this will be just as difficult as enforcement of any previous laws that they had in place. So my belief is that as soon as these property owners figure out a way around this law, they are going to start using it. And they're going to be right back in business like they were before. Yeah, this will discourage some people who are less savvy, less, technically proficient from being able to, rent their properties out on Airbnb, but it won't stop all of them. It won't stop probably even most of them. Most of them are going to find a way around it. So yeah, the real thing that it does though is it hurts those people who otherwise would be, the people who would follow all the rules, like the people who would have, good guests in there who don't cause any troubles, the people who live in, like they said, a multifamily building where they live in one unit and they rent out the other one and there should be no problems. Well, they can't do that anymore. Or the person who um, maybe lives in New York City just part of the year and owns a second home there and just wants to rent it out while they are not living in it themselves. Well, they can't do that. If you have a second home there, you can't rent out your property on Airbnb anymore. So yeah, those people are the big losers in all of this. Okay, they're just going to take the loss, I guess, right? And all for the city. The government regulation is, one of my biggest gripes. When the government regulates too much and they want to control everything, and they get to the point where they take away a person's property rights and they take away their ability to make a living because they would rather they have 100% control of everything that's going on than you have control of your property and your life. So yeah, like it always boggles my mind that a place like New York, right? They think that the people who invest money, they're just going to sit there and just take it and then keep throwing their money into a losing battle with their city. No, no, these people will leave. They will go and they will invest in other places. If, for example, New York doesn't allow Airbnbs, well, there's some, municipality, some state right nearby, some county, some state, some municipality nearby that perfectly loves Airbnbs, will allow every single unit in the city to be an Airbnb if necessary. I don't know where it is. It might be in New Jersey. It might be a neighboring county in New York. It might be, a neighboring state, but there will be Airbnbs and those investors will just move to where they are treated right. And if it's not New York, they'll move to another major city where these things are allowed. Okay, that's the way this works. The money's going to go somewhere. It's not like these people are going to be like, oh, well, you defeated us. We're done. No, no, no. They're either going to find a way around the law or they're going to go somewhere where they can invest. Landlord groups, including the Real Estate Board of New York, have lauded the law, figuring it will reduce the owner's liability. Airbnb this summer told hosts any listing not registered with the city would automatically be converted to a 30-day stay, which would effectively block tenants from renting illegally. And that's a smart thing, too, right? You're automatically forcing everybody to go to a 30-day stay. And the only problem would be at what point in time do New York's tenant protections start kicking in for tenants? So if a person is staying in an Airbnb for 30 days, then what happens if that person doesn't leave? Do you have to now go through the formal eviction process like you would a normal tenant? That's a huge problem, okay? That's a huge problem right there. And so that might really be discouraging. Or, like they said they would automatically convert everybody over to 30 days. Well, maybe people are listed as a 30-day rental, but people aren't actually staying there that long. Okay, I could imagine that's one of the ways that landlords are going to use to get around this new law. So interesting stuff. I'll leave a link to the full article if you're interested in reading it down in the description below.